How do you write a scene? This is a guide for beginners using my own personal creation, a scene sheet, a helpful tool in the arsenal for aspiring novelists, screenwriters, and business owners who want to tell better stories using my blank page protocol, patent pending. If you'd like to follow along, you can get a completely free copy of the sheet by clicking the link in the description below. What is a scene sheet? It is a resource for generating scenes. It is not, I repeat, not a formula or a checklist, and nobody is going to grade you on this thing. It is something that I fill out before writing because it primes me to create rich, dynamic scenes. If you find yourself staring at a blank page every time you write, this might just be for you. Today, we'll just be looking at the scene sheet's first page. I'll be doing another video on the second and final page next week. I will be filling out the digital form version, but I suggest you download the analog version, print it out, and fill it out by hand. This always gets me out of my email brain and inspires creativity. But that's just me. Here it is. As you can see, there's a lot going on. So let's go through every element one by one. To simplify my explanation, I have already cooked up a scene for us, but you can use this to brainstorm scenes as well. Our scene is simple. A character named Bill is eating a ham sandwich, which our main character, Bob, wants to eat. These boxes over here tell you where your scene lays in a story circle. If you don't know what that is, I've pasted a fantastic explainer video in the description, and you should check that out. So anyway, first we want to enter the name of the scene. You'll notice that this sheet can work for any chunk of story, a beat, which is a unit of scenes, a scene, which is a unit of sequences, or even your entire story. We'll just type in our title right here, ham sandwich. Simple and easy to remember later on. Next, we have the event. This seems an obvious point, but something has to happen in your scene. More precisely, there should be a fundamental change that advances the plot of your story. We'll keep this one simple too. Bob gets Bill's ham sandwich. Now we get into the craftsmanship. I stand on the shoulders of giants and have included ideas from a lot of people who are much smarter than me. And there is no bigger giant than Robert McKee. He sometimes gets a bad rap, but if you were just starting out, his excellent book, Story, is a great place to begin. I'm going to bake in my own take on this, but basically McKee posits that every scene should include a shift in value. If it begins with a positively charged value, love, friendship, generosity, it should end with a negatively charged value, a divorce, a falling out, a selfish act, respectively. I like to include a material change as well. What do I mean? Well, here we have a negative material state for Bob. Click that in. He's hungry, okay? And over here, we have the positive material state he will attain by the end of the scene. Positive state, sandwich. Material change. But this is where it gets deep. A value change can be something intangible but felt. Let's push this event a little further. Perhaps Bob ends up killing Bill to get his hands on that delicious ham sandwich. In that case, we would start with a positive moral value. He's perhaps a decent human being, to a negative moral value. Now Bob is a murderer. And actually now we have to change our event. Scene sheets are living, breathing things. Bob, in fact, kills Bill for his sandwich. Sandwich. Now that's the event for our scene. I've chosen ridiculous examples to illustrate what I mean, but the more precise and considered you are in your wording, the better the sheet and scene will be. Next, we have this section, which is about a character's desires and the obstacles getting in her way. This is some writing 101 stuff that you'll hear constantly, but I've goosed it up in some specific ways. So we have a character's desire and her tactics for achieving it. There's a great book by Jordan Rosenfeld called How to Write a Page Turner, in which she offers a spicier word for obstacles: torments. I added it here as a reminder that you really want to go hard on your characters, not just get in their way, but torment them on their journey. And finally, we have dilemma. This category is related to the choices a character has to make, which will come into play later on in page 2 of the sheet, coming next week. I added it here because a truly juicy dilemma is an obstacle that deserves its own category. So let's fill this out with some stuff. Bob wants the ham sandwich. Easy. And to get it, he might persuade, he might lie, he might beg, he might manipulate, physically attack, since we're going for murder eventually, etc. Now, these tactics might want to connect to the obstacles they're attempting to overcome. You might also find that they escalate and/or change depending, meaning that your character will have to be more clever or violent or what have you to overcome the stuff you're throwing in their way. What might Bob's obstacles be? Well, first of all, Bill also wants the sandwich. That's a problem. And Bill might just refuse, challenge, manipulate himself. He could mock Bob. He could use tricks, misdirection. Oh, and if it comes to violence, maybe Bob is stronger than Bill. Note that although I've focused on Bill's countermeasures, obstacles can be environmental or even internal to the main character, like Bob's own doubts or guilt, and an infinity of other things. Moving on. Playwright David Mamet says that before you write a scene, you must answer 3 questions. Who wants what from whom? We just did that. Why does it have to happen now? And what happens if they don't get what they want? Hence the next section. Why now and stakes of failure. I also added this word clock as a reminder that you might want to put a literal time limit on your scene. Pros find clever ways to do this, and it will add automatic pressure. So, why now? How about going to the extreme? We already discovered Bob kills Bill for his sandwich, which must mean Bob is starving to death. This helps us easily fill out the next category, the stakes of failure, because if he doesn't get the sandwich, Bob will die. Having higher stakes are never a bad thing, but what constitutes high stakes can mean many different things in different stories. I digress. This last section on page 1 comes from the minds of Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park. On their final pass of every episode, they make sure that each scene is linked by one of 2 words, therefore or but. Doing this guarantees that every scene drives into the next one, and it will prevent you from linking scenes by the terribly passive and then this happened, and then this happened. Let me show you what I mean. Bob kills Bill and gets the ham sandwich, but must now deal with Bill's body. Look at that. We now know the beginning of our next scene. Powerful linkage, indeed. You should now have an event, a value change, a character desire, her tactics and obstacles, a reason this must happen now, and or a clock on the action, the stakes of failure, and a rock-solid link to your next scene. This is enough by itself to go forth and write. But if you want to go even further, next week I will cover page 2 of the sheet, which has a whole bunch of material for breathing life into your scene. Stay tuned. And remember, if you want to download a free copy of the scene sheet as part of my blank page protocol, patent pending, the link is in the description. And if you have any personal questions for me, feel free to email me. My email is in my bio on my channel. Have a good one.